The Hog Sty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Sty. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome back to the Hog Sty, DC's #1 podcast for the Washington Redskins, now part of BigHeadsMedia.com. Heading into the season's quarter mark, Washington is 0-3 on the season with the 1-2 Giants coming up. Maybe the tides will change this week. We're going to get into it. My name's Sean Conti. I'm joined tonight by Steve Thomas and Alex Zeese. How you fellas holding up after that brutal Bears blowout? I'm trying to think of a little
brutal blowout. We had a brutal blowout?
Well, no, but
I'd forgotten.
It felt like it.
It was a beating, at least.
It was a beating. Brutal Bears beating would have worked just as well.
Look, let me get this out of my system right up front. I mean, I was disappointed like everybody else, for sure. I mean, the Redskins did not play well last weekend, for sure. You know, they haven't played well. You know, they haven't looked good all year. But this is really what I want to get out. I think the fans are I'm going to be abnormally positive, because I'm not normally
I've noticed you've been abnormally positive lately. It's disturbing.
It is disturbing. But I think the fans are being overly negative about this team. No, they didn't play well. I'm not arguing that. But well, think about what we face here. You know, the Bears have probably the #2 defense in the NFL behind the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots are #1. The Dallas Cowboys might be the most complete team in the NFC. Yeah. The Philadelphia Eagles are a Super Bowl contender. You know, we were never going to win those games. You know, the offense, the run game has been atrocious. There's no doubt about it. But we've faced 3 absolutely fearsome defensive lines, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Redskins are going to be in the playoffs. I'm not even saying they're a great team. I'm saying I think this is – I'm actually preaching Jay Gruden's patience thing. You know, Jay this week has been saying, you know, we're 0-3 is not the end of the world. You know, teams come back from that, you know, kind of relax. You know, the old Aaron Rodgers thing, RELAC, relax. I actually think this is going to get better. I really do, because the offense is not as bad as we think. The defense, it just surely can't be as bad as they think. But even if they are, we've got the Giants, okay? The Giants have their problems. I mean, we're going to get annihilated by the Patriots. But then after that, you know, the real test, I mean, if they look this bad again against the Dolphins, I'll eat my words. But I'm here to tell you guys, I think it's going to get better. Because if you look at some of their numbers, and we'll get into it, I mean, they're not as bad as you think in some areas. So I actually think people need to kind of chill. People need to chill a little bit. I think
you're being sickeningly sweet right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say you got to come back to reality a little with how this team's performed.
I'm not saying they're good.
I mean,
0-3 is 0-3.
Yeah,
you can't win every good game, Steve. It's true, but you got to win at least 1-3. If you want to be going anywhere in this league,
Alex and I picked this team to be 0-3. I think you said we were going to be 1-2.
Yeah, I think so,
Sean.
Yeah,
but we all predicted this. What we didn't predict was that the defense would look so bad.
Right, and I think that's what's got everyone panicking more than anything. Even though, and I've said this online, and you guys are panicking about a defense allowing 30-plus points a game, and your plan is to switch to Haskins. Like, I don't understand the fan base's thinking in that's their solution to the problems.
To be perfectly honest, I mean, the defense was not that bad against the Bears. It really wasn't.
Numbers-wise, they were okay. Yeah, I know they had short fields, things like that.
Yeah, they gave up the pick six was on the offense. They had one drive start on the 11-yard line, touchdown. Mm-hmm. So they let them 11 yards. And then the Ha-Ha Clinton-Dix, the second Ha-Ha Clinton-Dix interception was like a 59-yard return plus a 15-yard penalty tacked onto it. That drive started on like the 30.
Right.
And so they had two short fields and one gift of a touchdown. I mean, you can't put 31 points on the defense. Technically speaking, it was only 24, and of those 24, one of them was a drive that started on the 11-yard line. So really, they gave up like maybe 2-3 long drives, which is bad, but it's not a disaster. Sorry, go ahead.
You're right. It's not a disaster, but it's the way they've not been going after the quarterbacks very well. They've not been winning the man-on-man stuff that we've talked about so often.
Absolutely.
The secondary's been looking atrocious. Like, you can watch this as a fan or somebody who understands football and see this is not a defense that we were kind of told we would have. Clearly.
I'd like to point out that I never bought this. Going all the way back to OTAs, I said this.
Yeah, Steve's been hard on the defense for a while now, which is interesting. I haven't.
I just saw it on film. I just saw it in the preseason. I was like, these guys aren't what we think they are. And nobody listened to me at the time, not you guys, but I mean...
Well, and you've been particularly hard on the front, it seems, and they've been blowing it, and they're going to be key in this game coming up. But maybe we should put the brakes on that, talk about a couple other things before we get into the New York stuff.
Yeah,
Sound good?
There's some news, there's some fun.
Okay, cool. So, let's get out of this funk that we've been put in thinking about this horrible product we've been watching on the field and talk about some fun stuff. Like you said, Alex, you have a fun poll for us.
Okay, I got bored on a work day and threw together a poll because not only were we a mess on the field in that game on Monday night, we were a mess on the sidelines as well and off the field, as we like to say. There were a number of botches by the team that I just, they got pointed out. I'm sure everyone saw these online. And I kind of want to ask fans, what was your most 2019 Redskins moment from that game on Monday night?
I love it.
And I'll give you the 4 things that I pointed out. The one that probably the few people have noticed was that at one point when the guy runs out on the field to wave the flag after the Redskins score, his flag fell down to about half-mast, and so he couldn't wave the flag properly.
Symbolic.
Yeah.
Symbolic.
Yeah, which... I don't know if you guys have flags hanging outside your house. It's really hard to screw up waving a flag. It really is.
Well, it came detached from the pole and slid that he was holding.
Right, and it slid down to his hands, which is just...
So he's waving, basically he's waving a pole.
He's waving a stick in the air with like a tablecloth by his head.
Exactly.
It's great. So there was that one. Number 2, Gatorade Man. This is the one that everyone seems to have fallen in love with. I saw somebody did a painting of the old water boy stirring Gatorade with a big stack of cups, which is just outstanding. I want to get that framed and hang it on my wall or something.
Yeah.
Because that's just great.
Loved it.
Then there was Gruden, who forgot how headsets work at one point. His headset, and I'm going to do a visual for you guys. His headset was like this, where it was like half off his head. It was like falling off, and he kind of had a Nutty Professor look at that moment.
Kind of symbolic of the situation.
Very much, yeah.
He didn't want to mess up his hair, is what that is.
No, well, he's wearing a hat.
His hair was already messed up.
Right.
If he wasn't wearing a hat, it would have just fallen off. And then lastly was misspelling London Fletcher's name as they're honoring him with putting him in the Ring of Fame.
Yeah, listen, that one's just flat out embarrassing. If you want me to break this down, they probably caught Jay Gruden at a bad moment.
Yeah,
he probably fixed the headsets.
He fixed it at one point, yes.
About that. The Gatorade thing is just gross. And number 1, what are they stirring? I guess the Gatorade in that thing is powdered Gatorade.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, why on earth are you stirring it? You're stirring it with cups and plastic. That's just gross. The thing that really, I think, is 2019 in a nutshell is the flag. It's like, we're going to yeehaw, it's the Redskins, yay, it's introduction, and the flag falls.
If his pants had fallen off, too, that would have been perfect.
Yeah. That would have been my vote for the most 2019 thing ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sean?
Yeah, Steve's got a pretty good take. I think the flagless flagpole is pretty symbolic. That's a good one. I don't know. The Gatorade thing is hilarious, but I kind of wonder if it doesn't happen other places. So, I don't know. I'm going to say probably the flag thing, but... Yeah. People seem to have fallen in love with Gatorade.
Yeah, I think people love Gatorade Man because, as our friend Chris Larry pointed out, he's just working with what he has. And,
there you go.
It's a MacGyver situation.
You know, realistically,
Right.
He probably could have just reached his arm in there and stirred it up. And,
Started, just go.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
That would have looked all kinds of wrong if he had been doing that.
So given that choice, the cups was probably the right move.
Yeah, well, I'm sure somebody's made that mistake, and someone said, no, use the cups.
And let's be honest, okay? Do you think anybody on the sidelines cares how the Gatorade got stirred? Even if they saw it, will they care a bit in the middle of the football game?
I don't think they care. I think it's just funny. It's funny. It's flat out, Waterboy level funny.
But it's like but the answer to the question is the what really symbolizes what's happened is the fact that the flag fell.
Right.
The Redskins flag.
Well,
what do people say?
Okay, so shockingly enough, the flag came in last place with only 8% of the vote.
No sense of irony.
Yeah.
What was the result?
Okay, so flag was 8%. Gruden's headset, despite how everyone hates Gruden, it seems right now, he only got 9% of the vote. Gatorade Man got a solid 25%, and that means London Fletcher was 58%.
I think that one's just awful. That's not ironic. That's just sad. Bad. Yeah,
right.
Sad.
But it is very Redskins, so I understand what we're
I mean, you guys know I have bad spelling and grammar at times, but even I will, would double check a little graphic design work that's going on a 100-foot video board.
In front of
the guy's
60,000
Yeah.
people.
You got to,
Yeah, and it's not a tricky name. It's Fletcher.
Yeah.
So
Theoretically, one that they've been typing for a long time, or did type for a long
well, maybe they got a new graphics guy who wasn't there when Fletcher was there. I don't know.
God. Yeah, who knows? You don't know.
No.
Don't act like you know them, Alex. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's move on from that then. Hilarious stuff, but we have some other non-hilarious stuff in the news as well.
Unless you want to get dark.
Yeah, which is the sighting of Case Keenum in a walking boot at practice. So, Steve, do you have an official update on this? Or?
Yeah, I've got the injury report here from Wednesday night. Case Keenum, foot injury, DNP. Jordan Reed, concussion, DNP. Chase Roullier, Brandon Scherf, knee and ankle, respectively, DNP. Quentin Dunbar, still limited. Casanova McKenzie is hip, limited. Then John Allen and Colt McCoy were both full practice, unbelievably. It's probably not an accident that Colt has been a DNP with every practice this year until today, Wednesday.
Convenient.
Yeah. Right. Now on the Giants side, pretty big deals here. Saquon Barkley out, high ankle sprain. Beautiful. Alex Ogletree out with a hamstring. Russell Shepard foot out. So we'll see. Barkley, we'll get into Barkley. He's definitely out. I don't know about the rest of them.
Yeah.
But that's injury. So, I mean, the big question, obviously, for everybody. Oh, and by the way, we had a roster move. We now have a tight end named Jerome Cunningham, who I've not looked into at all. So, whoever you are, welcome to the team.
Can we call him Southeast Jerome? Just because,
Maybe so. So, the big question really is, what happens if Case Keenum can't play?
Right. And it's Wednesday right now, so assuming that's a Friday decision, right? If he still can't go, probably.
It could be a game time decision. Honestly,
you think they'd let him play without practicing all week? I know he's a quarterback, but
yeah, I do.
Didn't Gruden give a statement on that earlier? I don't know if it was before or after the injury update, but he said something like, "We just don't know on Colt. We won't know."
Yeah, I mean he appropriately coach speak. Here it is. Okay. So, I don't want to read. He's got a lot to say about it, but here's what he said about who's going to play. Right now, it's Dwayne. Depending on Case's foot, that could be the case. Obviously, if Case can't play, then the backup usually does play, depending on how Colt is tomorrow. So what he's saying is, if Case can't play, Dwayne might play unless Colt can play.
Right.
Which is saying absolutely nothing. So
Okay.
Which means we don't know what we're doing.
Here's what I think.
Right.
If you ask me, I think if Case Keenum goes out in the middle of the game, throw Colt out there and finish the game. I wouldn't want to throw Dwayne to the wolves, but if you're going to start somebody, you might as well start Haskins. That's what I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
By injury. I'm saying by injury. I mean, I'm not saying Haskins should play right now necessarily, but if you got an injury thing going, you might as well start Haskins. That's my thought.
I don't think you could go really wrong with that. I just think It's just so hard to say where is Colt with this weird leg injury he's had for, 6 months now?
Yeah,
Well, more than that. It's
Whoever
been
knows.
A year? Whatever it's been.
Yeah, about a year. Yeah, 10 months.
I mean, the real question to me is, does any of them actually improve your chances of winning these games down the stretch?
No.
Not in my opinion.
I don't know, man. I mean, look, Case Keenum was the principal culprit in the loss to the Bears.
Sure.
All by himself. He had 5 turnovers by himself, and he got lucky on another one.
He did, and he really killed that when we had momentum and we're coming back, he gave it a go over again.
I mean, you take the turnovers away, it's a whole different ballgame. That had to have been one of Case's worst games of his career. I mean, in terms of turnovers and stuff. So, I mean, I think it does matter. Now,
Colt is going to throw interceptions too, and he's probably got a weaker arm than Case.
Yeah.
He's more fragile. And then Haskins is untested. He's rough around the edges. He does have the chemistry with McLaurin, but I don't know. To me, it all evens out. I don't see any of these guys really having much success at the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
right now,
I don't think I would put it a little differently. I would say I see them all having some success. I don't think any of them would walk in these last 3 games and put up enough to have won any of them. You know,
I mean, I think the fans are in a Jay Gruden hate cycle right now.
Sure.
So I don't think he can do anything that's going to make anybody happy. This fan base is so fickle, man. I mean, you think about what we've gone through in the past couple months.
the 10 of us that are left.
Well, yeah, it's what hate cycles have we been through? We went through Eric Flowers,
Right.
that lasted a couple weeks. Then we moved on to Trent Williams. Then it was Josh Norman. Then it was the medical staff. Then it was Greg Minuski last week, and now it's Jay Gruden this week. And so they're going to move on to somebody else. It'll be
But it will always have a fire Bruce Allen hashtag after whoever else they want to fire.
Yeah, Bruce is above all else, of course.
Right.
But I mean, look, who should play? I mean, like I said, I tend to think that if Case goes out in the middle of the game, you don't want to throw your rookie out like that. But if you're going to start somebody, I think you might as well start Haskins. If you're forced to start somebody not named Case Keenum, that's what I think.
I mean,
the Giants are doing it themselves right now. So you know what? It's not unprecedented. I can see it.
It all again will depend on, is Case going to be in a boot all week, or have they even really said what the injury is?
No, not really.
It's just a mystery.
Also, how often do you get in a boot and then get right out of it? Is that really a thing that happens that often?
I mean, if it's a sprain or something, I guess they could do that.
A day or two? It just seems weird.
But
to be in a boot,
right? Usually, you don't put a boot on something like a sprain.
Right. You're gonna take it right off. I mean, I don't know. It just seems sketchy. It seems like it's.
Jay did not say anything about the specific nature of the injury.
Right, as always. You can't expect him to do that. He's never going to. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it seems sketchy to me. You're in a boot. You're expecting to get it out in tomorrow or the next day or something? Seems like it's not going to happen, but who knows? What do I know?
Here's my weird conspiracy theory. We all know Jay doesn't want to start Haskins. What if somebody in the front office went to the medical staff and said, "Hey, put Case in a boot. We're gonna force this."
No, even the Redskins wouldn't do that. No way.
I wouldn't put anything past this team anymore.
I don't buy that for a minute. I'm sorry. I mean, what I do think could happen is that Dan Snyder just says, start Haskins. I'm tired of it. Here's an order from on high. That I could buy. But this, let's pretend a boot thing? No way. That's Oliver Stone level conspiracy theory.
When he makes a bad decision to start somebody, he makes it obvious. That's what you can say about Dan Snyder. He just goes right out there and does it.
That's true.
He'll just start
he's not the only owner that dictates stuff like that. I mean, other owners have done that.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when it comes to a quarterback. Yeah.
But his dictations are always failures. That's the difference.
Is this season over?
It feels like it. Feels like it is.
I just think the fans are being overly fatalistic. Like I said at the top.
Well,
I mean, it's only week 3. It's going to get better. I just can't believe. I'm not saying we're going to be even league average, but I just can't believe that the season is already over.
I think the season never. I think it was over when it started. Frankly, this team is now, and this is a stat that people have been throwing around this week. We're something like 1-10 in our last 11 games. Yeah,
it goes back to the win. It goes back to when Alex Smith went out.
Right, and
that is insane to think. Wow, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is, Steve. We've seen holes before. We started in holes, and we've rarely seen this team claw its way out of them. And I don't know. I understand the lack of hope. It's sad, but it is what it is. The team's not playing well. And with that, maybe we should go into New York. Ready to talk about some New York stuff?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so seems like me the big thing with New York is that they're playing Mr. Jones over Mr. Manning. How much do you believe in the hype train? That's the real question. But how are you guys feeling? I mean, come on, we're 0-3. The Giants are 1-2. They've lost against two very good teams, 3-0 teams, and beat a struggling team. So
Right.
you know, I don't know. They're not entirely different than we are. Their defense is struggling majorly. Their offense has questions. But I said that about the Bears game, and we asked the bet on that one. So, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I hate to say I'm thankful someone's injured, but Saquon Barkley getting hurt is probably the best thing that happened to the Redskins this week.
That's a game-changing injury.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, look, the Giants, #1 in the NFL in rushing yards per attempt.
Right.
The reason is Saquon Barkley, who is not playing. And so now they're down to Wayne Gallman, who, now Wayne has had some success at times, but he's no Saquon Barkley. And so if the Redskins can muster any sort of run defense at all,
That's a big if.
I realize that.
Right.
I know. That's if. If the Redskins can muster any sort of run defense and make Daniel Jones beat you, that's probably their best chance. Because at the end of the day, Jones is a rookie. He's not going to, have 109.7 quarterback rating every week. He's just not. Now, the downside of that is, you guys know who the Giants' leading receiver is right now? Want to take a guess?
Shepard?
No, it's Evan Ingram, the tight end.
Yeah, he had a
okay.
huge one last week.
Yeah, and what do the Redskins not do well? Cover touchdowns.
Cover, yeah.
Right.
That's a problem. They also have some legitimate receiving threats. I mean, Sterling Shepard had a big one. Darius Slayton is like a guy people sleep on. He had a couple nice plays last week. Played Tampa last week and barely survived, but they did get the win. But I don't know. Daniel Jones is not. He doesn't have a weak arm. He seems to be pretty accurate. He had a pretty good game last week. This could be a tough one where they're going to test our secondary, and our secondary has not stood up well to tests.
No, it hasn't. And, the Giants have a passing attack that can take advantage of our big weakness, which is the deep threat.
Well, this is another week that the Redskins need to blitz his quarterback relentlessly. Now, they're not going to do it. We know they won't.
They're going to fail at it,
Yeah.
But they should. They should blitz Daniel Jones relentlessly. The Giants' offensive line, while maybe better, still sucks. They're no good. And you got a rookie.
Right.
You blitz those guys. And I don't think they will because they never do, ever.
Right. No,
know?
we're going to play our same 4-pass rush, leave the center and the guards completely uncovered by defenders type look most of the time. So they'll just run it down our throats, down the center.
That's what they just can't. I mean, you just can't let that happen when Saquon Barkley's out.
No, you can't.
Let
But
Wayne Gallman do
we
that
know
to you.
exactly what the Redskins scheme looks like. That's the most frustrating thing about this team.
Yeah, I'll also say, I don't know if you guys caught any of this game this past week, the Giants game. I mean, I didn't really watch it. I watched bits and pieces of it. But he won that game partially off of running the ball. I mean, he ran a touchdown, and Jones did, that is, like from 20 yards out or something like that.
Well, he's way more mobile than Manning was.
It was 11. It was 11.
It was only 11? Okay, it looked like more than that, but fair enough. Still, they left him a wide open lane for it, but it's still worth noting that he can do that too. And just with the weaknesses up front on our defense, this is going to be a bad game. We can't block the run. We're going to forget about Jones. I kind of envision this being ugly from a defensive standpoint.
I don't know. I mean, they're not the Cowboys.
No,
they're not a good team.
Aren't.
That's what makes this really sad.
Now, since we're talking Redskins defense, I mean, statistically, there's no redeeming this group, okay?
No.
They're 31st, talking Redskins defense, 31st in points, 26th in yards, 32nd and last in third down conversions, 24th in the red zone.
We're only 24th in red zone.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the only saving grace is kind of that.
And that still sucks.
I mean, the numbers look bad. But again, I just point out that they've played two very talented offenses. And that's not that's
true.
just not the Giants. The Giants, the Giants aren't that. The Giants have only scored 63 points themselves.
Right.
Which is the same as the Redskins, incidentally, to the point, which is weird.
That's what I'm saying. They're kind of similar. They put up a ton of yardage, but they can't score. It seems.
Yeah, and they're big. I mean, again, their big plus was Barkley, who's gone. So I just can't believe. I refuse to believe that this defense is going to look as bad this week as they have the last couple weeks. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I think this will be a bit of a turnaround.
But that's such a low bar, Steve. I mean, not looking as bad is still allowing 28 points.
Hey, I mean, well, first of all, it's 24 points, but
well, no,
week.
I'm talking end number. 28 points would be a improvement over 31, 32, 31, whatever it's been.
It would. I know. I mean, I get it, but I just don't think. Maybe this is how far we've sunk. Maybe this is where we've come to, but I don't think they're going to be quite as bad as the horrible, awful they've been. How about that?
Yeah, it would be really nice to get a divisional win and a commanding one at that, but I'm not expecting that.
And again, I don't think they were so supremely awful against the Bears anyway.
No, I mean, it seemed like a play calling issue, which is why everyone's freaking out over defensive coaching. But you were right, Steve. When we blitzed, we had more success than otherwise. That's the key. You got a rookie, fluster him, knock him around. When Tampa did that, they were successful as well. So that's look, the work's cut out for it. It's pretty clear what you have to do. Find some pay dirt.
Now, whether the coaches are going to call that kind of game, that's another matter entirely.
Yeah, soft zone coverage is not going to do. They can still light you up over the top. And if you sleep on them, they'll probably still run it on you, too, even without Barkley. So
I mean, Evan Ingram had a humongous, massive game last week.
Right.
Yeah, that was nuts. I mean, he had a beautiful streaking run down the sideline. Looked like he was going to get a bounce, but he didn't.
113 yards against the Bucs.
F and A. We've got a pretty good receiver, too. Maybe we should talk about our offense.
Yeah, we do. Terry McLaurin set some random record. Are you guys a fan of these when they're like, this is the first rookie to ever do 5 catches and a touchdown in 3 games?
No, it's stupid.
Like, what kind of stat line is that? Okay.
I could dream up stats like that all day long if I wanted to.
Right.
It's stupid. But here, the point is this. Terry McLaurin looks like a vet. I don't
he
care
does.
whatever number, whatever stat they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Terry McLaurin looks like a savvy vet with the way he runs routes, the way he can set corners up, the way he uses his strength to create separation yet not get called for penalties. He's an all-around complete receiver, and he's only going to get better. I just hope the Redskins don't ruin him somehow.
Well, I mean, he looked really good. Richardson also, we talked about that last week. He looked pretty good too, or I shouldn't say last week, last show. We talked about, I think that was probably his best game with the Redskins.
Yeah, you gave him a game ball.
Yeah.
Alex.
The thing that I think they still need one more real good weapon in the receiving core to kind of emerge. So, I think if we could get a third guy who kind of does that same thing, they don't need to be a superstar, but somebody who's getting 50 to 80 yards a game. That's the last thing they really need for this passing game to be effective is one more good target.
Well, that and not 3 interceptions.
Well, yes. Yes.
I'll tell you what they need far more than that, though. A run game.
Sure.
The Redskins are probably the second or third worst run game in the league. It's amazing that there's worse teams, but here's the real kicker.
Wow, yeah.
They've only had 51 rushing attempts, which is 32nd and last in the NFL. They've run the ball less than every other team in the NFL. You have to try. And I don't know what weird thing Adrian Peterson has done to Jay Gruden. Maybe he slept with his wife. I don't know. I mean, but something. Because it seems like Adrian's in the doghouse with Jay somehow. I don't understand
why. He seems to keep getting in the doghouse with coaches. What's going on there? I agree, because there were times when you're like, what's he doing on the sideline?
Yeah,
he was
why
obviously
don't you
getting
put the
upset.
Hall of Famer in the game?
Yeah.
Right. They tried it briefly at the start of the second half, and it was working to a certain extent. But I just keep saying it. I mean, this team is not the type of team that's going to win games when you're passing, more than all but 3 teams, and you're running less than everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just not going to win. Period. Dot. The end. You won't.
No, they need to get more balance, but I think so much of it is, and I don't necessarily blame Gruden for getting frustrated, though, when, hey, we're running it on first down and it's 2nd and 10. You know, like, the lack of production so often on some of these runs, it's got to be frustrating for any coach.
Disheartening, sure. But you just always got to keep threatening it. I think we would all agree on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you lose the threat of the run, then you've almost lost the game
I think this offensive line is kind of getting a bit of a pass on this, but for some reason. Not from us.
No, not from us, but yeah, broadly,
people are
yes.
kind of not going, or people are kind of ignoring the fact, and the other media members haven't, besides us, haven't really mentioned it, but they've been atrocious, awful in run blocking.
Yeah.
There are no rushing lanes at all. Jim Brown would get stopped in the backfield,
right?
Behind this offense. So they have been a disaster, and it's got to get better. Now, unfortunately, what the Giants are a little bit better at is run defense than pass.
Mm-hmm.
They're 31st in yards per play, 32nd in passing yards per attempt, but they have only given up 4 yards per attempt on the ground. So they are, which is not good, but it's not great. So they're actually a little bit better on the ground, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you cannot have 51 rushing yards or rushing attempts in 3 weeks. You're just not going to win.
No.
Not the Redskins.
No.
The Patriots might win that way, but the Redskins are not going to win that way. So Jay has got to, I don't know what, mark his arms up, stab himself in the forehead, something to remind him to run the ball.
And you mentioned briefly how the line hasn't been really blocking well. I think that some attention really needs to be paid to the fact that, it's just the line blocking a lot of times. Like, you don't really see much from the tight ends in the run game either. Every once in a while, you'll see a wide receiver come in and try and level somebody. But you can't be relying on receivers to be your key blocks for a lot of run plays.
Well, they can have the crackback blocks, but, the tight ends need to do their job. And the problem is that that's not Vernon Reed's thing.
Yeah.
And it could be Jeremy Sprinkle. I'm sorry, Vernon Reed. I said that.
That's like the third time you've done that.
I know. I keep thinking about that song, Cult of Personality, I guess. Because he's the guitarist for that band.
I guess so.
Not I guess. I'm telling you, he is. But Vernon, that's not Vernon Davis' thing. Vernon Davis is just a big receiver, basically.
Right.
Jeremy Sprinkle could be an inline tight end. But, every time you see Sprinkle in the lineup, it's going to be a run.
Or he's going on a deep pass that you really don't want to see him trying to make.
That he's going to drop.
Yeah.
So, and I think last week, after kind of watching some of it again, somebody was calling protection schemes wrong. Whether it was Keenum or Chase Ray, somebody was. On those runs that Khalil Mack was running free on.
And I'm not sure who's actually making those calls. I haven't heard them say, is that on Chase or is that on Keenum?
Nobody's asked him. Nobody asked him. Somebody should have. If we could have only participated in the conference call the other day.
Oh, well.
They sent us the info again, by the way. None of us could do it. But regardless, so point being here, yes, I realize the Giants are a tad bit better in run defense and pass, but they just can't. The Redskins are not going to win the game slinging the ball around the field. They're not good. They're not that team. No.
3 times in a row.
No, you have to stick to the run game. If Jay can call 25 runs a game,
sure.
If he can do that, we may have a shot at some of these games.
Yeah, well said.
I'll settle for 20 runs and a couple more screen passes even. No, I'm willing to negotiate.
Yeah. I just generally think Jay probably needs to go downfield more, but I'm not a huge fan of the West Coast offense anyway,
right.
So I'm not the right person to ask. I get sick and tired of seeing when it's 3rd and 8 and the pass is to the shallow flats at the 5 yards deep. I'm just kind of getting tired of seeing that over and over again.
Yeah, not working. Okay, well, let's do some predictions then, fellas. Giants, Redskins. I guess I should go first since I'm making us do it. I said the Redskins would get their first win of the season last week against the Bears. I was wrong. They did show some ability to fight back. I think the turnovers stop this week, or at least get better, which is a low bar. I'm going to stop stalling and make a call here. Redskins win. I'm going to go with my exact same score. Redskins, no. 21-17, Redskins.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you that I think the Redskins are going to win this game. One, because I think they legitimately have a shot at winning this game. Two, because I really just don't want to hear it if they lose. It's going to drive me nuts next week. But I legitimately think they're going to play better. We're not talking about the Cowboys. This is the Giants. That having been said, it's what usually either happens. If the Redskins beat the Giants, it's usually a hard-fought game. Or if the Giants win, it's usually a blowout. That's usually what happens. So I'm going to predict a pretty close score. I'm going to say 24-21.
24-21. All right.
Yeah.
So I am kind of going back and forth in my head. I think you guys are pretty close in terms of the final score. My heart says Redskins win. My head says that this team's quitting, and that's the nightmare. But I'm going to stick with my heart on this one. Redskins win this one 23-21.
Wow. We all drank the Kool-Aid tonight. Jeez.
Hey, you guys didn't let me get to the bit of statistical goodness, by the way. I just wanted to point out real fast that Tress Way, number one punter in the NFL. 51.8 yards per punt, which is first.
Yep.
So congrats to Tress. Maybe I'll actually make the Pro Bowl this year.
I posted it a while ago. It's still been like 2 years now since he's last kicked a touchback, and he leads the league in inside the 20 punts. And
we had him on the show.
We did.
Didn't we have
Remember he pitched his board game?
Oh, the board game. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
good dude, if I recall. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good dude. All right, cool. Well, you're right, Steve. That is a wonderful bit of statistical goodness.
The other bit of statistical goodness, by the way, is since we're on special teams, kick returns. They are 7th in the NFL in kick returns, unlike last year, which is they were in the low 20s. Punt returns are 10th at 8.8 yards per return. So the combo of Steven Sims and Trey Quinn has, at a minimum, while not produced touchdowns, has produced one long kickoff return and enough of a punt returns to not be awful. So we've improved.
You know, people have been saying they want to see Sims on punt returns. You know what?
I said that.
Yeah. But you know what? If we're in the 10th, that's not a bad spot.
No. I think Sims is more explosive than Trey Quinn.
Oh, I agree, but I'm just saying it's not as bad as it seems.
No, nothing can be as bad as Greg Stroman.
Oh, no. No.
Oh, by the way, Stroman is. I said last week I didn't look up his status. He is on IR. He
right.
made it through,
okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Bummer.
Nice.
Bummer?
We need a corner right now. That's all.
I thought it was like bummer that he came back to the team. It's like, man, that's hard.
No. I'm actually bummer. We're desperate for corner help.
Yeah. There's a lot of bummers, Steve.
Never fear, Simeon Thomas will be suited up.
I don't trust it.
Super Bowl. Okay, cool. Anything else you guys want to throw out there? Any other final lingering thoughts about the old New York Giants? I hate this team. I tell you every year this is my least favorite team.
I know.
Don't care about Dallas as
just
much
fans, try not to be fatalistic. I'm getting tired of the fatalism. I mean, I'm all about negativity if it's logical and rational, but, it could be worse. The Miami Dolphins are a much worse team than the Redskins. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. I know you want it to be the worst. Miami Dolphins are atrocious.
They're only the third worst.
Yeah,
right. It's not quite as bad as it seems. And I'm telling you, this is going to be a better week.
No,
I know it.
I think.
I promise you guys.
The worst case scenario was that a lot of people said was 3-13. This could at least be one of the 3 wins. So
there you go. All right, well said. Beautiful. Well, that's our show tonight. Keep checking up on thehogsty.com, bigheadsmedia.com for all the latest news. We will see you guys again after the game. Fingers crossed for this one. We'll see y'all next time. Take care.
I hate the fact that I'm so positive.
Cut.
Did you know that a man once jumped into a bulletproof window so much that he busted it out of the frame and fell to his death? I do. Hey, I'm Nicholas Howe, and I made an improvised comedy storytelling podcast about this death and many others. Using a multiverse of me's as the catalyst, I explore the various ways people have died. I also have special guests on and freak them out about how dangerous the world is. Did you know lakes can explode? You do now. Listen to the How Will I Die podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Twitter at HWIDIEPOD.